Hello, welcome to Operation Remote Resilience. My name is Aron, and I am a Warriors at Ease certified teacher. I'm subbing for Rachel today. I'm so glad that you're joining me. We're going to have an all levels yoga class for 30 minutes. And in addition to our physical practice, I'm going to have us weave in a meditation called a metta meditation, which is a meditation designed to help us um, enhance compassion and loving kindness. And we start that with ourselves. So as we move through our physical practice, having loving kindness and compassion for ourselves means listening to our bodies, listening to what we're feeling and thinking. So always being kind to yourself and doing what works for you, making any modifications or taking any variations that work best for you. So let's start seated. And we'll come into a seated posture that's, something that you can hold for the next couple minutes as we get centered and focused to start our practice today. I'm sitting cross-legged, but if it's better for you to have your legs stretched out or in another position, feel free to do what works best for you. And then we'll see if we can get focused on this moment. So letting our attention and focus move away from any worries, any concerns about the past or the future. And see if we can focus on what's really actually happening right now, using all of our senses. What can you see and hear, smell, taste? What do you feel physically about being in this space right now? Maybe you notice the surface below you, or maybe you can feel air or your clothing on your skin. And then allowing that observation to move a little deeper, start to notice the body itself, all the muscles, the bones, the joints, the organs. And as you bring awareness to your body, if there's any small movements or adjustments that you need to make to get a little more supported, a little more at ease, feel free to do that now. And perhaps once you've made those movements and adjustments, see if you can welcome a little more stillness. And then start to observe the body breathing. The body breathes all on its own. So we don't need to change anything. We're just going to notice what it feels like to breathe. Maybe you notice the chest and belly rise and soften as you inhale and exhale. Maybe you can feel air moving past your nostrils or your lips. And if your mind starts to wander, that's okay. It's our mind's job to think. You're not doing anything wrong. As soon as you notice that it's wandered, see if you can bring it back to noticing what you're sensing, back to noticing your breath in this moment. Before we start to add our physical practice, let's go ahead and take a moment here to begin that loving kindness meditation. And we'll start with ourselves and then we'll expand out as we do our physical practice. So starting with a felt sense of loving kindness or compassion. Actually feel that in your body. And if it's helpful, you can imagine a person, maybe a pet, or a circumstance where you felt a sense of loving kindness or compassion, and then recall what that feels like. And see if you can extend that loving compassion and that kindness to yourself. And if it's helpful to you, you can even use words here that you can repeat to yourself. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be peaceful. Just noticing what it feels like. Feel that sense of loving kindness and compassion for yourself. And let's take a big breath and let it go. Fill the lungs up from the bottom to the top, front to back, side to side. And exhale, release. Now we're going to start to add a little bit of movement. So let's come onto our hands and knees here. And if your knees need a little extra cushion, you can double up your mat or maybe fold up a towel or a blanket and put it under your knees. Our wrists will be right underneath our shoulders, fingertips spread wide, middle finger pointing right towards the front of the mat. And the knees are right underneath the hips. So we're stepping them in a little bit from the edges of the mat. And we want them far enough back so they're under the hips so that we can have the spine long. So the tailbone's pointing behind you, the top of your head's pointing in front of you. You're looking down in between your fingers, and our arms are strong. We're going to press into our fingertips to activate the muscles in the arms so we keep the body lifted. And we're also going to activate the muscles around the trunk of our body, firming up those muscles right behind the navel, drawing them in just a little. And let's take a breath here. Notice what this feels like to support our spine with our arms and our legs and our trunk. And then let's start to warm up that spine. Inhale, let the belly soften, let the tailbone lift, let the collarbones lift, the arms stay strong. And then exhale, round the shoulders, tone up the back, tuck the tailbone, look back at the thighs. And then we're going to move through that a few times. So inhaling, we're lifting into this cow posture. Exhaling, rounding into this cat posture. Go ahead and do that a couple times on your own. Remember, nothing that we do here today should be painful. It might be challenging sometimes, but if you feel pain, stop what you're doing. Maybe find a modification, maybe rest, or maybe just don't go quite as far. Let's come back to that neutral long spine again. All right, and then we're going to slide our hands forward a little bit. Now the wrists are in front of the shoulders instead of directly beneath. We're still going to keep the fingertips spread wide, and we're going to tuck our toes under so the pads of our toes are starting to come onto the earth instead of our toenails. And we're going to use the muscles around our core to lift our knees up just a little. So they're a few inches above the mat and the knees are bent. And we're going to keep the knees bent and bring the chest towards our thighs. So we're lengthening so that the arms are over the head. The tailbone is up to the sky. We're in an inverted V, a downward facing dog. And from here, if you want to start to bring the heels down towards your mat, that's going to lift the knees. But if you notice as you do that, that you have to round your back and you start shifting the shoulders over the wrists like you're coming into a plank, then bend the knees again. See if you can get the hips high, chest towards the thighs. See if you can keep that extension in the arms like they're reaching over your head, opening through the shoulders. The long legs will come with practice. Let's see if we can keep the spine long. And then let's bend the knees, look up at the fingertips, and we'll step the hands and feet together and take the feet out a little wider towards the edges of the mat. We're coming into a forward fold. You can keep the hands on the mat and have your knees bent, or if you have something like a block or a book that you want to use so you can put your hands a little higher, you can do that. You can also use the front of your legs. If you want to let gravity help you hold a little deeper, you can grab your elbows. There's lots of ways to do this. If any of those options make you feel dizzy, slide your hands above your knees, bend your knees a little more, and drop your hips so that your head is above your heart. You can still get that roundness in the back, but without having your head below your heart. Any of these options are fine. Do what works best for you today. Maybe shake your head yes or shake your head no. See if you can release any tension that might be in your shoulders or neck. Maybe bend one knee and the other and sway a little side to side. See if you can Get some of those muscles in the seat, the back of the legs, the back. Maybe they loosen up again, a little bit of movement. And then let's come back to being still. Bring our hands right to where our thighs meet our torso, right there where those hip creases are. Bend the knees, lower the hips, press into the heels. We're activating the muscles in our thighs to come up to standing. And then we can shake that out. And then while we're standing, let's go ahead and bring our feet a little closer together, about hips distance. And coming into a mountain posture. So we're strong like a mountain, pressing our feet into the earth, getting grounded. See if you can feel where the heels, the big toes, and the outside of the edges of the feet really press down. And as you observe that sense that you're pressing down, you may also notice that you're activating muscles in your legs. You feel that energizing feeling. And we're going to continue to feel that all the way up the body through the muscles of the trunk of the body so the spine is long, all the way to the top of the head. So our whole body is energized as we're standing in mountain. And we're also going to welcome in a sense of ease. So letting any tension in our forehead soften, any tension in our jaw loosen up. If those shoulders are up by the ears, let's exhale, let them fall down. And the arms are at ease at the sides. We are going to rotate the upper arm in the shoulder socket so that the belly of the arm and the palms face forward. And notice that shift. The chest opens, the shoulder blades slide down the back. And let's check in with our knees. If they are locked out, let's soften them just a little bit. The legs are still strong, but we don't need the legs to be rigid. And let's take a breath here. Notice how this feels. And then maybe once again, welcoming back in that sense of loving kindness and compassion. And perhaps this time, as we're feeling that sense of loving kindness and compassion, calling to mind a loved one, or maybe loved ones, and extending that sense of loving kindness and compassion to them. And again, if it's helpful to you to use words, you can repeat silently to yourself. May they be happy. May they be healthy. May they be peaceful. Noticing how that feels. And then let's inhale, reach arms overhead. And interlace the fingers, pointer fingers to the sky, biceps as close to the ears as you can get them, and exhale into a side bend. Inhale, center. Exhale, other side. Inhale, center. And then exhale, release the arms, hinge forward in the hips, soften the knees. We're in a forward fold. Let's let the top of the head be heavy again. Drop the hips a little, press into the heels. Inhale, let's come back up to mountain. And let's do that once more, that whole flow. Inhale, reach. Exhale, side bend. Inhale, and exhale, other side. Inhale, exhale, let's fold. Softening the knees, pressing into the heels. Inhale, back up to standing. Beautiful. If you need to shake that out, go ahead. We're going to bring this a little wider and do a flow through some warrior poses. So taking the feet maybe a little wider than feels natural. I like to extend the arms because we're going to do that during this practice anyway. Extend the arms and then see if you can bring the ankles out about as wide as the wrists. That's going to help you find a good stance. We're turning the toes to point right in front of us. So the torso and the toes, the face, we're all facing the same direction. And then we'll extend the arms out, stretching fingertip to fingertip. See if you can get wrists, elbows, and shoulders aligned to the best of your ability. Remember, you can always take a break, bring them down, or maybe bring them up if you need to. Let's see if we can extend them out for now. And we're going to turn that right foot and point the right toes out to the right. And if you take a glance down real quick, it's best for balance if that right heel lines up with the middle of the left foot. If it's way in front, you might feel like you're toppling back, or if it's way behind, you may feel like you're falling forward. So that's going to help with balance. And then we're going to start to bend that right knee. It may bend a little, depending on your range of motion. It may come as far as right over your ankle. If you notice that it's coming way out in front, maybe back off a little, or maybe you need to take a little bit bigger of a stance if you do want to go more into that range of motion in your hip. So just go ahead and get settled in, make any adjustments you need to make. We're keeping this knee aligned with the ankle, but we're also keeping it aligned in this direction as well, not just forward and back, but also side to side. So take a glance down and see if it's lined up with that second and third toe. If it feels like it's drifting in, like it's turning in the same direction that you're facing, see if you can use the strength in your leg and your seat to pull it back in line. You're going to feel some openness there in your hip flexor. And then let's turn and look out over our right shoulder. And take a couple breaths here. We're pressing down in that right heel. And we're also pressing down into the outside edge and the left heel. And that's going to keep that left knee lifted. And then let's keep these legs nice and strong, just like they are. Flip that right palm over and then tilt the torso forward. So we're compressing this hip flexor a little bit as we reach forward. And now we're going to open it, tilt back. Left hand can be on your hip, or it can slide down your left leg. And let's look up right into the palm of that right hand. That left leg is still strong, pressing into the outside edge. That right knee is still bent. And then inhale. Let's come back to that warrior two. And then we're going to straighten the right leg, drop the arms. The body's still facing this way. We're going to keep the legs just as they are. And we're going to start to slide the right hand down the right leg. We want to keep our body rotated to the front. If you come down so far that you feel like you start rounding this way, then come up a little higher. You'll be able to reach lower with practice, but we don't want to turn the body for this practice. That's a whole other pose. We'll do that another day. Today we're doing triangle. And you can keep that left hand on your hip, or if you reach it up to the sky, you can feel that extension. And be cognizant of what's happening with this shoulder. We don't want to try to keep the shoulders one over the other by yanking that shoulder back. You can really hurt the shoulder doing that. It's all from turning the torso. And let's inhale, come back up, drop the arms, turn the toes back to the front. We're going to do that whole sequence on the other side. So let's turn the left toes. Get that alignment with our feet so that we can stay balanced. We can extend the arms out and then bend that left knee. And again, if you need to make any adjustments here, check in with that knee, that it's also aligned side to side. Feel that strength in the legs, really pressing through the heels, pressing through the outside edge of that right leg now so that right leg stays strong. I really press that. I even feel engagement in that glute a little. You may not. Just notice what you feel. And then let's look out over that left shoulder. Turn that left palm to the sky. Keep the legs just as they are. Reach forward and tilt back. Now we're in that peaceful warrior stance. Let's take a couple breaths. Inhale, come back to that warrior two. Straighten the knee, drop the arms, and then we'll slide left arm down the left leg, keeping the body rotated to the front. And then maybe reaching that right arm up if that feels good. Again, if this doesn't work for your shoulder, you don't have to do it. You can keep your hand here or at your side. Listening to your body. It may be different on this side. Inhale, let's come back up. Drop the arms. Heel toe the feet back together. Maybe shake that out a little. We're going to work a little bit on balance. So you're welcome to stay on your mat and find mountain here. Or if you want to move off your mat for a little more stability, sometimes the squishy mats are hard to balance on. And let's see. We may have just had a technical difficulty. Here we go. I think I fixed it. All right. If you're still with me, you can also move near a wall or a chair or something if it's good for you to have a little support, I'm going to move near my wall. I like to have a little support nearby. And then let's find ourselves back in mountain and find that sense again. We're strong, we're at ease. And then once again, taking a moment here to welcome in that sense of loving kindness and compassion. This time, perhaps thinking about someone that you don't know really well. Maybe it's a neighbor that you wave to, but you're not really close with, or someone who works at a shop that you go to, something like that. A neighbor. And see if you can extend that sense of loving kindness and compassion to them. Perhaps even affirming that with words that you can repeat to yourself. May they be happy. May they be healthy. May they be peaceful. And then let's start to work on our balance a little. Maybe bend that right knee and lift the right heel, and open that right knee out to the side and let that right foot rest against the left leg. And it can look like this, like a little kickstand with the heel above the ankle, or you can slide the foot up a little higher, maybe to the calf, maybe all the way up to the thigh. Just make sure you're not pressing against the knee. We're not going to spend a lot of time in tree. We're going to actually transition from one posture to the other here. So if you need to take a break between and put your foot down, you can. But let's see if we can rotate that right knee forward. Lift that right knee a little. Again, compressing that hip flexor, and then we open it. So we compress first, then we open. The knees are lined up together. See what happens if you point those right toes down towards the earth and really squeeze the back of that right thigh and that seat to open up in the front of the body, through the hip flexor, through the chest. Let the shoulder blades slide down the back. In this dancer posture, one more breath, and let's bring that right foot down. That left leg needs a little gratitude, maybe give it a massage or a little shake. And then let's come back to being still in mountain. And we can switch to the other side. Let the weight come into the right foot, lift the right knee and heel, open it up, find your tree on this side. Whatever that looks like for you. And remember, it's okay if you wobble a little. It's okay if you need a little support. Every time you bring yourself back into balance, you are building strength, so you're getting stronger. That's part of the process. Let's bring that left knee forward, maybe give it a little lift, and then rotate. Ooh, there we go. There's that support I needed. Flexing those left toes down, feeling that strength in the back of the left thigh. And even as we're working on this challenge, we're still staying open in the chest. So if you feel like you're closing off, see if you can open up. One more breath here, and then let's bring that down. Give that standing leg a little gratitude. And if you've moved from your mat, you can come back to your mat. We're gonna come down to the mat now. We've got some time to do a little work on the mat before we rest. I'm going to take us down through a forward fold. So you can take a deep breath and then dive forward and bring hands all the way to the mat, bending the knees, and come down to the mat. If you want to take a little break for a moment, you can, just to check in how you feel. Some people like to let the hips come back to the heels and walk the hands forward into a child's pose. So if that feels good for a rest for you, you can. Or if there's another rest posture that you want to come into, you can do that too. And then let's take a moment while we're resting to once again welcome in that felt sense of loving kindness and compassion. And perhaps this time thinking of someone who challenges you, or maybe someone you don't even like very much. And then see if you can extend that sense of compassion and loving kindness to them. And if it's helpful, you can repeat that affirmation to yourself. May they be happy. May they be healthy. May they be peaceful. And then on the next inhale, Looking up, lifting the hips. Let's come back to that tabletop that we were in earlier. We're going to do a little more opening through our hip. So let's take that right leg out to the side. If you served, you may have called these fire hydrants. And then we're going to make a circle from that hip joint. So we're going to draw the knee back and then down and then towards the nose and then out to the side and back again. So we're making circles with the knee, but the movement's coming out of that hip joint. So we're exploring that range of motion. And then let's switch the direction of those circles. Now the knee comes back and then out and then and then let's bring that knee down to the mat. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So let's lift the left leg out to the side and make those circles. You can make these circles as big or as small as works for you. You can go as fast or slow as you want to. Listen to your body. If you're like me, there's some snap, crackle, pop that happens here. That's okay as long as it's not painful. Remember, nothing we do should hurt here. And then let's bring that knee back to the mat. We're going to continue to open in the hips by stepping that right foot forward and finding a lunge. And let's see why we're in our lunge if we can continue to open through that hip crease. Let that left hip crease get heavy and stay open in the chest. And if you can do that with your hands on the mat, that's fine. If you want to change your angles, my arms are a little short, so in comparison to my shin. So I like to be up a little higher. You could use blocks, or if you don't have blocks at home, you can use your thigh. You can use your thigh even if you do have blocks, if that feels like you're opening up a little more. You can keep hands where they are to stay steady. You can take them out to the side. You could interlace them behind you. Feel free to make this practice your own. Do what feels best for you. And then we'll release. And we're going to switch to the other side. So right leg comes back, left knee comes forward. And let's open up on this side. Take a couple breaths here. And let's come back. And then we're going to come all the way onto our back with bent knees and feet on the mat. We're going to do a little bit just to cool down, and then we'll be ready to rest. So walking the heels in close to the seat, hands next to the sides of the body. Let's press down into our feet, into the palms of the hands, into our forearms, into the triceps. Use that downward pressure to lift up in the hips, the low back, maybe even tuck those shoulder blades under. You can keep your hands where they are here in this bridge, or you can interlace your fingers under your seat, maybe draw the knuckles towards your heels. Take a couple breaths here. If the fingers are interlaced, let's inhale to release them. Exhale, lower back down. We're getting close to our time to rest. Let's do one little bit more, crossing the right ankle over the left knee. We're in a figure four. You can keep it here just like this. Or if you want to, you can bring the legs in a little closer, maybe even hug that left thigh in. And then if there's any movement that you feel like you need to make so that you can rest, maybe in the joints, maybe rocking a little bit, you can do that. And then let's bring that left foot down. Arms come out to the sides, either in a T-shape, palms down, or maybe like cactus arms, palms up. Shoulder blades stay on the earth as we let our legs fall to the side. And if you need to shift your hips or change the crossing of your legs, you can. If you want to use a pillow or a blanket to catch your legs, if they don't come all the way to the ground, you can do that too. And let's come back to the middle. We're going to go to the other side. comes down if you lifted it. Legs come out to the side. Let's twist in this direction. And inhale, let's come back to the center. Uncross the legs. Maybe give ourselves one more big hug here. And one more time, welcoming in that sense of loving kindness and compassion. And this time, extending that loving kindness and compassion to all beings everywhere. And if you'd like, you can affirm to yourself, may all beings everywhere be happy. May all beings everywhere be healthy. May all beings everywhere be peaceful. If there's any other movement or shape that you want to come into so that you're ready to rest, you can do that now. And then when you're ready, go ahead and come into a resting posture. You deserve it. You've worked really hard. You can stay here as long as you'd like, resting. If you want to use any pillows or blankets so that you feel supported and at ease, you can do that. If you want to close your eyes, you can. You can simply let them be restful. You're not controlling your breath. You can let your breath be its natural breath. Your body's going to do that all on its own. Stay there as long as you need. And then when you're ready, you can come back into your day, make small movements and stretch, and give yourself some gratitude for taking time for your health and wellness. And I thank you for sharing your practice with me and for supporting Operation Remote Resilience. I hope you enjoyed our practice today, and this video will be available shortly to the public on the Warriors at Ease YouTube channel, so please subscribe so that you don't miss any of our practices. We have a bunch of great teachers and a bunch of great practices. I don't want you to miss anything. And if you get a chance, please visit the link in the description below and consider making a donation so that we can continue to make these practices free for all. It's viewers like you that make it possible for teachers like me to provide these practices. So this is Aron signing off with health, resilience, and connection. Thank you.